I would like to invite Winnipeg, Alberto, and Kyla to start their presentation. So let me just release, okay, it's already sharing. So Alberto, Kyla, the mic is yours. Thank you.
Perfeito. Boa tarde a todos. Prazer estar aqui com todos vocês. Meu nome é Alberto Velasco-Acosta, and I'm Director of Foreign Direct Investment in Winnipeg. And Kyla, you can introduce yourself while I put the screen up.
And I'm Kyla Willis, and I'm the Business Development Manager that specializes in technology, creative industries, and financial services.
Perfect. So this is Team Winnipeg for today. And just to confirm, are you seeing the Winnipeg Advantage presentation on your end?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it. I think it's good to go, Alberto.
Perfect. Excellent. So just to start, we wanted to give you a quick fun stuff for you to remember about Winnipeg. Many of you may be familiar with 007 James Bond, but I'm not sure if you knew that the character of a James Bond was inspired by a Winnipegger. It's Sir Stephen Williamson, and you can find a statue of this person in downtown Winnipeg. Also, another interesting thing about Winnipeg is that we have the first national Aboriginal network in the world here in the city. And also, you may be familiar to Winnie the Pooh, the story. And it's interesting, if you didn't know, that it was inspired by a bear cub that was found here in Winnipeg. And I don't know if I should be apologizing for this or I should be bragging about it, but the inventor of the cell phone is a Winnipegger, Marty Cooper. And for those that have been in the city, I'm hoping that you had the chance to see our train station, Union Station, and see that the architecture of it is fantastic. And one of the reasons why it's so beautifully designed is because the architects of our train stations are the same that designed the Grand Central Station in New York. So now you know that you can remember Winnipeg by some unique and fun ideas. And even though Kyla and I are here representing Winnipeg and economic development in Winnipeg, we're also the face of a larger team behind us to support your business in Manitoba. We work very closely with the province and the province of Manitoba and with the city of Winnipeg. And the whole approach that we take is to make this process as business friendly and as friendly as possible for you to understand what Winnipeg and Manitoba is. Some of the key elements on why Winnipeg is known are what you see on the screen. A central location, and I'll show you in a map where exactly Winnipeg is located. Our easy access, and this is something that the whole of Canada can provide to you. Winnipeg, we are a trimodal transportation hub, given our central location, and I'll give a little bit more information on that. We are a low business cost location. It's very affordable to do business in the city and to live in the city. We get a supportive business environment for the same reason that we have this team approach where the province and the city and the federal government, they come to the table to talk to you and make this process as easy as possible. And we got a provincial immigration program that is very competitive. It works hand in hand with the federal programming to funnel the global talent that the companies need and help them be more competitive. So this is where we are. And I know that there's lots of people that say that they're in the middle of everything and they're at the center of the universe, but I actually have a map to prove it. You see the map, and Winnipeg is right in the middle of Canada. And that gives us some competitive advantages by connecting Canada coast to coast. And that connection happens by different modes of transportation. We got rail, we got air, and we got road. What you see on the screen is the road infrastructure that connects Winnipeg to the Midwest in the US, and it goes down all the way down to Mexico. But the same happens with rail and road. One of the big advantages of Winnipeg is that we are 1 hour away from the Canada-US border, and that gives us access to the big market of the US, using our border crossing as a big gateway into that market. Okay, I think I'm going to get to the trimodal in a minute. But I also mentioned that it's an affordable city. And one of the factors that we show to prove how affordable it is to do business in Winnipeg and Manitoba is the electricity rates that businesses enjoy in a province. This is a chart not created by us. It was Hydro-Quebec that put it together. And it shows the cost of electricity in different cities in North America. And you can see that Winnipeg is one of the lowest. And one of the advantages of the electricity here as well is that it comes from renewable sources. Not sure you know, but Manitoba has about 100,000 lakes. Yes, 100,000 lakes. That's a lot of water. And one of the things that we do with that amount of water is producing energy. So that gives us access to low-cost electricity that is green, clean energy. But it's also very affordable to find space in the city. We got one of the lowest lease rates in North America, and that gives you access to some competitive rates to have some space over here. But it's also affordable to live in the city, not just to do business, but also to live. A house in Winnipeg, the average goes just over 300,000 Canadian, which is much lower than the Canadian average for large metropolitan areas in our country. But if you prefer to rent a property to the company here, so just a little bit of that experience, Kyla.
Yeah, it was, we were growing really fast, and we found that there was such great tech talent in Brazil that we decided to hire a bunch of Brazilian developers and move them up here to Winnipeg. And there was about 175 developers hired, and they brought their families with them. And it's really helped foster a great Brazilian community here in Winnipeg, where it's a very tight-knit community, and they all get together, and it's helped grow that presence specifically in the tech community, the Brazilian tech community here in Winnipeg.
Thank you, Kyla. And just a quick overview, those are the 5 key sectors where Winnipeg is strong. We'll be focusing a little bit more on the tech sectors, and Kyla will be sharing a little bit more about that. But just to highlight quickly, in advanced manufacturing, large vehicle manufacturing is very important here in Winnipeg. We've got the largest bus manufacturing company in North America, NFI Group, headquartered here in Winnipeg. Aerospace, we got the 3rd largest aerospace cluster in Canada with Boeing, Standard Aero, and Magellan Aerospace located here. And agribusiness, we're a protein hub. We got a number of businesses growing their businesses, leveraging the connection and the development of products on plant protein and meat protein as well. And with that, I'll pass it on to Kyla.
Sure, and I'll just dive in a little bit deeper into what the tech community here is like, because I know that that's the angle that we're speaking to from today. So we have over 1,300 tech companies here, which results in over 19,000 different occupations in the tech industry here in Winnipeg. And as we spoke before, it's a very cost-effective place to do business, especially from a tech perspective. Between your overhead and your salaries, you see that it's much more affordable to run a tech company from Winnipeg than some of the other major centers in Canada, which has made us a very attractive place for especially startups or smaller companies who want to test out the Canadian market before necessarily diving in full. We have a number of incentives as well to entice you into the Manitoba ecosystem here. So we have an industry expansion program for employers that are looking to grow significantly in the market. We have 2 different programs around kind of training and development of your employees. And so there's the Canada Manitoba Jobs Grant, as well as there's a paid work experience tax credit for hiring students or co-op students out of universities and helping you access that young talent early on in their careers. And we also have one of the best scientific research and experimental development top-ups. So there's a federal tax credit for research and development that anywhere in Canada offers, and then our province tops that up an additional 15% to really help with companies who are in that innovative space who are doing a lot of R&D. So an example of a couple, global companies that have chosen Winnipeg for their business. So we have Skip the Dishes, which we mentioned earlier. They were owned by Just Eat out of the UK and have recently Just Eat's been acquired by Takeaway out of the Netherlands. So it's an enormous global company that has decided to keep its Canadian operations here in Winnipeg, as well as Winnipeg has served as the tech hub for the delivery operations all over the globe. So they've really seen a lot of value in the tech piece of the business and the great talent that we have here in the city. We also have AWS ThinkBox. This was a company, ThinkBox was a company that was located here in Winnipeg that Amazon acquired and again decided to keep their operations here and grow the team here in Winnipeg because they saw such value with the city and with the talent that was here. And a third example is Farmer's Edge. So we have a very strong ag tech piece here in Winnipeg. Agriculture is one of our major sectors and has been a key part of our economy, for as long as you can look back. And that's really fostered a lot of innovation in the agriculture space. And when you have such a great agriculture industry here, that it helps, you have people, farmers that can test out your technology. You can be so close to the end product and the end user that you see a lot of spin-offs from companies, agriculture companies here with a ton of great new technology, new innovation, and Farmer's Edge is a great example of that with their precision technology. And I believe they actually operate an office down in Brazil as well. So there's a connection there for you guys. So as far as supporting the tech ecosystem here in Winnipeg, we have Tech Manitoba, which is the sector council for technology, the technology industry. So they do a ton of great things. They put on a ton of great events. They're great connectors within the industry. And there's consultants for tech companies that are part of their membership, as well as they have some great initiatives. So they have a Maven, which is promoting gender parity in the technology industry. Tech West does a lot of their export and their trade show missions. So they bring tech companies and expose tech companies to trade shows that they may not financially be able to take part in otherwise. Digital does, essentially that's a digital literacy program to make sure that everybody has the tech skills they need to succeed. And then Pivot is a program that's dedicated to getting high school students interested in technology as a career path and helping to make sure we have a long-term pipeline of tech talent here in the city. And then kind of a sister organization to that is Media Manitoba. If you're more in the interactive digital media side of tech, they're the sector council for that. And again, they help with business development, training and events, export, a ton of other areas they help and support those IDM businesses here in the city. And then if you're more on the early stage side, we have North Forge, which is our innovation-based economic development agency. And so they have things like they have a great startup program and an accelerator and an incubator. They give their members access to award-winning mentors and subject matter experts. They also have Canada's largest nonprofit fabrication lab to help do rapid prototyping, as well as they help companies land funding and raise for different Series A, B, and even their seed rounds. And so that's really great to foster that startup culture and that innovation that then helps grow into the rest of the tech sector here. From an infrastructure perspective, we've also had 2 new buildings that are dedicated to innovation here in the city. So one's through the University of Manitoba, the Smart Park Hub, and that is through our major university here. And they have a bunch of great companies that are working out of that building now. They have the technology transfer office there to help trade ideas and technology for different universities across Canada. And then we also have the Red River College Innovation Center, which is just in its final stages. It should be open next year. And that's going to have a lot of programming around commercialization, entrepreneurship, applied research, to again, help foster that innovation mindset. We have a ton of universities and other post-secondary institutions here that have great tech programs coming out of them. So there's a few universities, we also have some great colleges, and as well as an Institute of Trade and Technology that are all producing technology grads with different skill sets to help fuel your talent for your business.
And just to highlight that, you see on the screen that Université de Saint-Boniface is the only French-based university in Western Canada. So for those that are interested in pursuing their career or just studies in French, they got that option here in Manitoba as well. And that brings us to the last part of the presentation. And we're open for questions. That's our contact information, Kyla and myself. That's me pre-COVID, but the data still applies. Back to you, Carolina.
So I don't see any open questions here, but I don't know if Marcelo or Monica would like to add something in terms of sectors in Manitoba. I know that we have a few ag tech attending. So is there anything, oh, here we have, I think the console, let me open this. Oh no, sorry, I thought that was like someone like raising a hand, but if there's anything specific that you like to share specifically about the agriculture sector, like in terms of funding or specific programs that Winnipeg can offer, from like that would add on a little bit, to go deeper a little bit on the agriculture sector for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. One of the interesting things about Manitoba is that we have a provincial strategy for protein. And this because Winnipeg, we're located in the breadbasket of Canada, and we're surrounded by the supply of high quality food products. And traditionally, historically, agriculture has been an important component of the economic life. And this is something that keeps developing further and further. And it goes from primary production of cereals and grains that are being exported all over the world. If you were to look at some of the numbers, our main exports can include things like canola, oats, barley, and so on. Actually, canola was developed here at the University of Manitoba, for those that don't know. And that is a testament of the strength of the faculty and the brain talent that we got in agriculture. So it goes from that end, but also on the manufacturing side of things, we have a universe of companies that manufacture agricultural equipment and machinery precisely because the farms are so big here, it's so productive, that we needed to create that type of equipment and technology to make sure that crops were being harvested and well taken care of. And that has led to having companies like MacDon. MacDon is a manufacturer of combines and seeders and other equipment pieces that are being exported all over the world. And actually, MacDon is one of the largest innovators in Manitoba. They're one of the companies that hold the largest number of patents in the province. And it's a testament of a company that is tapping into the talent and the innovation ecosystem in Manitoba for the sector. But it keeps evolving to the food production. And in the University of Manitoba, we have the Richardson Center for Functional Foods that keeps working with industry and academia to keep developing the food products at a higher value stages. So the agricultural spectrum goes from the whole spectrum, from primary all the way to nutraceuticals and high value added food items and everything in between. Pharma-Sage is one of those companies that Kyla mentioned that is at the intersection of technology and what ag has been developing. And one of the reasons why companies like Pharma-Sage has thrived in Manitoba is because they're in the middle of different ecosystems. They're at the intersection of different sectors that keep innovating. So just picking on Pharma-Sage as an example, they're here where they can work with agricultural machinery and manufacturers and test some ideas. They're also where there's some tech talent they can put up to work in programming and computer work. But they're also here where aerospace is a big sector, and they can tap into some of the brains that focus on space technology development. Companies like Magellan, they actually manufacture satellites that have been shipped out to space. So we got brains that something like Pharma-Sage can tap into and bring that development, how to communicate, how to use satellite communication as part of the the work that they do with their clients and the services they provide. But as I mentioned earlier, we got this protein opportunity in Winnipeg, and this is something that has been gaining momentum in Manitoba. We got companies like Roquette. Roquette is a large French company that is in the process of finishing their big plant here in Manitoba, just east of Winnipeg. They're investing over $400 million in what will be the world's largest pea processing facility. And they'll be using pea as the base to develop pea-based protein. But also here in Winnipeg, another company that is investing and is building their facility in the city of Winnipeg right now is Merit Foods. Burcon is part of the Burcon family. And what they're building over here is the first facility in the world that will be processing canola-based protein. So their innovation is exactly using canola as the base to develop, to process and get protein out of that. And this is, again, an example of the growing industry. And when it comes to meat protein, we got companies like Maple Leaf that export bacon all over the world from their Winnipeg plant. We got companies like High Life that it was born and raised as Manitoban, but now it's part of a group based out of Japan and another in Thailand. And they are one of the Canadian leaders in pork production. So they export pork all around the world from their plants here in Manitoba. So sorry, maybe I went a little bit.
No,
I got too excited. But
it's great to have an overview. It's incredible how it's that sector of protein, like the vegan world, right? Like protein coming from peas and canola. It's growing so much. So you got one question here. Do you know if you can explain a little bit about the producer's profile? So I think you mentioned a little bit about peas and canola and pork. So what are the commodities that are being grown or produced in Manitoba? And are they open to adopt technology for smart farming? And do they use some sort of agro consulting for their businesses?
Sure, and it's interesting to see that some of the agriculture companies here in Manitoba, they're being open to that type of collaboration with companies in other sectors, right? We got companies manufacturing, innovating on equipment and machinery, and they establish those partnerships with some of the local producers in order to test, validate the technology. And we got other organizations that help to conduct that type of liaison work. Groups like PAMI, it's a group that specializes precisely on the testing of agricultural equipment, and they can establish those connections. Farmers Edge is another example of how they've been able to work with farmers and producers here in Manitoba to test some of the innovations that they got. And just answering the question in terms of production, I was trying to pull the data quickly, but our top crops for those interested in this field are, in that order, are hogs, pigs, soybeans, oats, potatoes, canola, and wheat. We're also strong in flaxseed and barley, right? So for those beer drinkers, you're welcome. We're setting the best barley in the world.
Is there a lot of microbreweries in Winnipeg and Manitoba?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
yes, they are. Just giving a plug to my tourism colleagues. They got to come and enjoy some of the many artisanal breweries that we got in the city. Amazing.
Well, I would like to thank you. Thank you so much, Alberto and Kyla, for the presentation. Again, their presentation is going to be available on our website as well, together with their contact information. If any of you is interested in learning more about Manitoba, Winnipeg, and check if Winnipeg might be the destination for you, please feel free to connect with Alberto and Kyla. I'm sure they're going to be happy to answer all your questions and convince you how nice it is despite the dry winter. So it's actually a very nice and flat city. It's a very interesting city to live in. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you, Kyla, for your participation here today.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you for having us.
Fala português.
Thank you.
Obrigado, tchau.